Today's guest is Devin Popadol of Forever Emerald, an electrifying pop rock band out of Los Angeles, California. Forever Emerald has been making their mark with hard-hitting jams and energetic live shows. Welcome, Devin.
Hey, welcome.
Hey guys.
Thanks for being on. We were listening to your stuff earlier today. It sounds fantastic.
Oh, thanks for having me and thanks for listening.
Yeah, of course, of course. So you're in LA, right?
Yes, born and raised.
Wow, no kidding. No kidding. Nice. Like northern part of LA or southern part?
All over. I was born right in the center. I was born at UCLA Hospital.
Oh, nice.
My grandpa was a professor there, so it was where I was brought into the world. And then lived in West LA till I was about 12, and then most of my teen years were spent a little north of LA in the suburbs, but I've been back in the city for about 5 years, and I've spent a lot more time in the last 5 years in the Hollywood area.
Oh, fun. Very cool. Very cool. Well, so the rest of your band isn't here today. Why don't we go over their names real fast, just so that we can kind of get the full picture and what they play, and then
Yeah, it's just me and my bass player, Tay. Tay's the best. Tay Fisher is my bass player. That's us.
Fantastic. Do you guys have people fill in with you when you play live, or?
We don't know yet. We actually used to be a 5-piece, and it's just the pandemic hit, and I think a lot of people, whether we realized what direction we were going in, or they decided just life-wise that they weren't going to, whether it was do music or do this kind of music. So we actually don't know yet. So that's to be decided. I think we should have some people with us that may or may not be told about soon. So
well, yeah.
keep you on the edge of your seat there.
Exactly. Well, there's nothing wrong with a 2-piece. There's been a lot of great 2-piece bands too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's always been me and Tay. Tay's the only other person that's ever been in the band since the beginning with me. So it just makes sense. It's what makes sense right now. But there's some people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Keep you on your toes a little there.
No, that's good. That's good. It takes a team, right? How did you and Tay meet?
The whole band and I, the original lineup, we went to school together in Hollywood. We went to college together. Tay and I have known each other, I think, kind of the longest out of the most recent lineup. It's been coming up on 5 years, around, but it's been a little over 4, and we met at school, so we were both 18, freshly into the world.
Nice. That's awesome. So did one of you apply for the band, or were you all just kind of friends and decided to?
It was a mix. It was a mix for sure. Tay and I had actually been in a band prior to this very loosely with our first drummer and another friend of ours who played guitar, and it just kind of never went anywhere with work and school. And then near the end of college, I was in the independent artist program, which was more focused on like building yourself as an artist and like being DIY, like doing it yourself and not relying on other people. And so the last project I did in my YouTube class was like a YouTube video type thing. And I've never seen myself as being solo really. So I put a band together with Tay and a few other people, and we put out a cover. And so I guess I started the band, but Tay and I were already kind of doing music together before that.
Okay, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Did you guys play a lot live together in that time, or?
The first video went out in like summer of 2018. And then we actually didn't play a show together ever really in front of an audience until that a few months later. We did like the final project for that program I was in, which is like a big performance, and you do 2 original songs and the winner gets studio time. And we didn't actually win. We came in second. But that from there, we started booking shows with our friends who were also in a band from the school, because it was a music school. I'll put that out there. It wasn't just random bands. All these people from our school were in bands. But another band that we were friends with from the school had a lineup, and they needed like a first slot, and we were super new, so it was perfect. And yeah, it kind of grew from there. We were just playing shows nonstop for the next year, pretty much.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you just had, or a couple years ago, I think it was the Candy. That's your latest single, right? Candy?
Candy, and then Safer Space is the it wasn't like officially a single, but it's the title track, and it's the only other song that got a video. And so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So Candy was released in single form recently, right? And that single just surpassed 100,000 streams, didn't it?
Yeah, the whole EP came out about 2 years ago, almost. It'll be 2 years over the summer, and it's already March, which is crazy town. So like time's crazy, but
Yeah.
Candy did come out, almost 2 years ago, and did just hit 100,000. So it's been super cool.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Well, tell us about Candy. What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh. Candy was actually written about, and I feel like it's like kind of weird to tell people what it's about, because like I feel like people have this idea of what a song is about for them, and I would never want to like change that. But for me, it was specifically about someone who in my brain at the time kind of seemed to be nice for show, and it seemed like fake and not genuine. And people that are like, oh, but that person is so nice, like how could you dislike them? And at the time it was this person, but that person is actually like one of my best friends, and we totally made up. But it's not that kind of thing where you're around town and everyone's saying how nice this one person is, and like you just kind of are like, I guess, you know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, you're only good for a week. Like once I get to know you, I'm gonna see, and everyone's gonna see that you're not completely as squeaky clean as you seem. But it's all behind us now. It's funny because truly we're like, that's like one of my best friends that the song's about. But that in that time, I think it was just how I felt back then.
Yeah. Did they know it's about them?
Oh yeah. I told them before I released the song. I like to tell people, especially because like if we end up making up, I tell them I write songs about them, because like I'm a very emotional person, and that's just how I deal with everything, is writing songs about it, whether or not I bring it out into the world and let people actually hear it.
That's awesome. Well, what's your favorite song that you've written sentimentally?
That's out. Let's say that's out. That's my favorite song out, because we got some stuff cooking. But I always think my favorite is Blame Game. It's a little, it's like the slower-ish song on the EP, but I think vocally it's my favorite, and lyrically it's kind of a little different. The feel like kind of shows what we're capable of. I think the EP is really great because it kind of shows our different inspirations and different influences in like a short little way, to be like, hi world, this is us. So I like Blame Game because it shows that range.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it was a fantastic EP. We really liked it. Are you working on new stuff? We heard talks that you are.
Yes, absolutely. We are in the studio with a good friend of mine. It's kind of just like, this process has been really cool because our producer is like an old friend of mine that I've known since I was like 15. And he's always been in the industry, and we kind of met, like he was in a band that I was a fan of, and it was always just like kind of like a mentor like relationship where he would just kind of give it to me how this like industry really was. And I was a wide-eyed teenager who eventually wanted to break in and do music on my own. And so it's been really, really awesome. And we are working on stuff. We just got back in the studio after a little break from the holidays, and we're going in tomorrow for a full day. It's been really great. So yes, we are absolutely working on new music.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Who do you work with? Usually there's a team behind it. You mentioned a producer. You have your bassist. Who else?
We have a friend who plays guitar that's been helping us out, who's super, super awesome. And we're kind of figuring it out. Our producer's more like really great with the writing, because I personally don't play an instrument, and I write most of the songs from scratch from my brain. And so it's just been a really cool new process. I know I mentioned like when we became a band, we were kind of just playing live for a year. So that first EP is awesome because of the way it came out. It was only because we were playing so many shows and we just had no original music besides those two we started with. And then each show we kind of had a new song or two that we were playing. Whereas this time it's like we haven't played a show in a year, which is super weird for us. We were such a big live band, I think, in that way. That was a huge part of our identity as a group. And writing these songs from a point of what sounds good instead of like what feels good live. And then there's so much more I feel like we're going to be able to do with it because we have like time to really plan it versus it was kind of all those other songs were spur of the moment. We got to get something for the set, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. No, I mean that's fantastic that you've been able to take that time to write and to kind of go over the ideas that you have in your head. So you mentioned that you write directly from your head. Do you put it on an instrument or at all ever? Like you said, you don't
I
play,
don't.
but
Personally, I don't know. I like,
interesting.
yeah, I have lyrics and melody. I've gotten a lot better with the melody part. I think Candy was like that first one where I was like, oh, this is like a melody that people will get like in their head, you know, this will catch on. But before that, it was always just like it's me and a metronome going like this. And like I'm very based in I think hits and like certain enunciations and words and phrases. So like doing that always was good because I could kind of give them a sense of where they were gonna strum or have accents when we were writing full band back in the day. But it's me singing and lyrics, and then I send them these horrible voice memos, and they are so patient and kind with me. And we just it's been a little harder in the pandemic, I think, sending ideas back and forth, but that's why getting into the studio is awesome because it's a little more like we all have one version we're hearing versus all of these versions that are in the Google Drive and floating around in our brains.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, that's funny. So when you say that you send them voice memos, is it just the lyric, or is it the lyrics and the melody, or is it both? Or do you ever tell them what to do instrumentally?
Yeah, I think like it's hard because I wish I did play an instrument, but I think it also is cool because I'm not really thinking about what musically makes sense. Like I think in songs like Blame Game, that's super evident because it's kind of like weird rhythmically, and I'm not really thinking about what fits into the rules, but there's no rules, you know?
Yeah.
In music, it's cool. Yeah, I send them just me singing. Sometimes I'll have little things like I wrote the riff to Save for Space because it was just in my head. I was like, sometimes it comes to me, sometimes it totally doesn't. Some songs I'm like, I have a very specific idea, and a lot of the time I'll send them like references to songs I think it could be cool, like, and the treatment and everything. And a lot of it's just following me vocally because like if I'm ascending or descending,
yeah,
in that way. But we play around with a lot of different stuff. I think each song, sometimes one of them will have a thing that they're working on, a riff or a chord structure and progression, and I already have something that works. Like we have one song we're working on right now that was kind of slower, and I was not sure because I don't usually write slow songs, but I was like, I feel like this could be something. And then we already had a progression that one of them were working on that they sent me, and it just worked, and it just took fine tuning and changing it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. So you live in LA, you're doing all this in LA right now. Tell us a little bit about the music scene and your experience in that area.
Yeah, we honestly didn't play LA as much. I would love to see when everything comes back a little bit more of a scene in the city. We were doing a lot of Orange County near Disney, and that's what people will recognize it for. But Orange County is just that direction. San Diego even was super cool. It's just hard because especially when we started, we were all like 19. We were all under 21, and a lot of the LA venues are 21 plus. And I'd love to see more spaces that allow people of all ages. I think the biggest thing for me growing up was going to shows, like not really local shows because I was still pretty young, but I was going to show sometimes a week every week, and it was crazy, but that was like what made me happy. And just doing that, I wish I had more of that in the local scene, places that people of all ages could go. But Orange County's awesome. There's a lot of cool places that aren't really venues, but they're venues. So we love that.
Oh, those are the best, honestly. Those are, I mean, you have great venues too, but those are a ton of fun too. Do you collaborate with other artists in the area ever, or how's that go in LA?
What do you mean collaborate?
So I guess, work together with writing or feature each other on the songs or anything like that. Do you do anything like that ever?
Not yet, but I don't want to say I don't because it just hasn't really happened yet. Like I said, we're kind of still a smaller band, and I think we've grown a lot in the last year with like TikTok, and we're reaching a different audience in a different way. Um, I've loved to do like there's so many local bands I could shout out right now to name a few. Like we have Chase Petra, we have It's Butter. There's this band Luminism, which is like kind of LA, kind of Midwest. They're in different regions of the states.
Yeah.
But there's like heavier bands like Farewell. Like I don't know, because it's cool because like I'm super into heavier music. I started with like more metalcore than I was into like the pop punk stuff at first. So I love like unclean vocals, and I'd love to have one of our friends that does that sort of stuff on a song. I'd love to have someone do some cool harmonies with me. I'd love to do it. I'm open, but I have yet to get to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome that you're familiar with all these people and that you know them. I think that's important, the unity in a community, knowing the people around you and everything like that. I think that's awesome. Well, so tell us a little bit about then, you said you played in Orange County a lot. So when the pandemic lifts more in LA, first off, how has that been in LA from your experience, the pandemic? Are things still quiet?
Vaccinations are going out, which is super cool. LA has definitely been intense. Like I mean, I haven't been to a mall in over a year.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I work in food, so I talk to a lot of people that are not taking it seriously, and I just have to kind of stand there insulted that my whole industry is underwater because people don't
Yeah.
take it seriously. But I spent some time in San Francisco over the summer, just like in an apartment. But even going out, like they were taking it a little more seriously up there, but they're also a little, I think, in closer quarters. They're a more compact city. Different parts of LA are different, but I think it's getting better. I'm very rarely an optimist, but I am surely trying this time around to like manifest the return of live music because I'm getting sick of this for sure.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned that live music is such an important deal to you, such an important part of your music experience and what you give to people. So what are some of your goals when it comes back on? What are some of your plans with live music?
Gosh, so many. It's hard because it's hard to say how these new songs will be received. It's hard to say where they'll take us, who they'll reach. I'd love to go to the UK. I've just always wanted to. I'd love to go to Australia. These are like massive goals, but that'd be so cool. We had only done one tour and it was super small, and I booked the whole thing pretty much, like each show, each venue, each band, each place to stay, like, and it was like a week and it was a lot. So I'd love to just tour more. I'm very under traveled, honestly, because I've just lived in LA and it's kind of the destination, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I'd love to just see more places. In the van, on a plane, I don't care. Just get me out. I just want to go places when it's to do so.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that sounds great. Going to the UK and all over the world. Yeah, I hope you do. I mean, honestly, I'm excited to hear your new stuff. How many tracks are going to be on it, if you can say at this time?
I have no idea. Heck,
Yeah.
if I know. We got 2 that are pretty much done. Another 2 we've been working on the last week. We have like, I think we're just gonna write and do the best we can with what we got and what the situation is and how many members we have and what's possible for us, and then just pick the best of the litter. We have, I think, like 10 songs in total written, but I don't know if we'll put that many out, and there's who's to say how many more are going to come out. But we're definitely working on a lot of different ideas right now. So who's to say? I'd love to release more than we released last time, I think, is the goal, because we did 5 last time, and it would be really cool to kind of show a little more range.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds great. Do you kind of have an ETA about when you think it'll, like, half a year?
Sorry, I live right by a fire station.
Oh, you're good.
And it's been raining in LA, and people don't know how to drive out here, let alone when it rains. They're not prepared for weather. So there's been a lot of sirens. Gosh, I want to say wishful thinking is summertime. I think. Because I mean, it's March right now, about halfway through March. Who's to say how many more songs we're gonna do? We'll probably do like a single to start, just to test the water,
Yeah.
um, and see how that's received. And like, because who knows if live music is coming back? I know there's a lot of festivals getting announced for September, August time. So I think the hardest thing is I really would love to play them live. Like, I admire
Yeah.
all these bands that have put out records in the last year without being able to promote them to a live audience, because that sounds insane, putting all your hard work into something then not to interact with people and like see it
Yeah.
but I'd love to do that, and in a way that we could perform it safely for people.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I think that's great. What would you say drives you as a musician to accomplish the things that you want to? You mentioned going to the UK. What drives you to get as big as you can, essentially?
I don't even care about the fame. It's never like been about being recognized for me, and I know that's corny, because like who doesn't want to be famous, but like even as a lead singer, like I don't love all the attention on me. I'm a loud, talkative, social person. I'm easy to see in a room. I'm easy to hear from very far away, but I like to be with people. I think live shows drove me just to live in high school, because things were, teenage life is dark, and it
Yeah.
was something to look forward to. I think there's just like interactions that you don't get in everyday life that you get in live music. I think live music drives me. I'm, again, a social butterfly, meeting new people, seeing new places, creativity. I think what drives my lyricism is anger. I got a lot of pent up anger, and I write about that a lot of the time. Um, there's a lot of people that want to see you do bad, which is, you don't, and I'm just a small artist. I can't imagine being at a bigger level, but it is crazy how like people do start to get like that when you have minor success. Like, they hate to see people succeed, and that kind of drives me too. Like, I just want to do better. I don't want to be on their level, on anyone's level, but just getting to like prove to the world that like all the sacrifices we make for this kind of music and this lifestyle, like they're worth it, because there's those little things. I think that
Yeah.
pushes to do it.
No, absolutely. That's fantastic, because that's common with everybody, really. I mean, all the genres of music, but pop punk particularly likes to kind of be the in your face, I'm going to do it because you told me not to type of thing.
Oh yeah, the underdog. It's the underdog mentality. And like the thing about
Exactly.
pop punk, and this is not to bash it, is that you don't have to be this insane musical talent. Like, it's kind of, again, the underdog's music. Like, it's shouty, it's distorted, it's repetitive, it's a lot of the same messages, but it's the way they say it. That's what gets you. Like, I could listen to a band say the same message over and over again, but it's still going to get me a certain way at the pickup to the breakdown. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, totally. Totally. I totally agree. Well, what advice would you give somebody who's just entering the music scene in LA? If they want to play live shows, if they want to connect with other people, what would you say to them?
Honestly, just like, you're gonna play a lot of shows. I know this is like, I feel like a lot of people say this, but you're gonna play a lot of empty rooms. You're gonna have to pay to play. It's inevitable a lot of the time. You're gonna be poor. You're gonna be sad, because you're not always gonna be understood. People are gonna portray you the wrong way. It's just like, do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because you feel like you have to. Like, do it because it makes you happy. Talk to people. I think, like, just like make friends with people. Like, talk to the person that you see at the show who's not talking to anyone. Like, so many friends I made were through shows, and I think that's helped the band. Is like, I already kind of had all these connects in the scene just from knowing people from going to see live music. And just be genuine, because there's a lot of people that aren't. And like,
Yeah.
I think it means something when you make it in the industry out of just being a genuine person that wants to be there.
Yeah.
That was a lot
No,
of
absolutely.
answers. That was a lot of answers, but honest.
No, that was perfect. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear what you think about that, because that's the thing, is that reality is a lot different from, kind of, I guess, what you always think it should be type of thing. So it's nice to hear the perspective, the personal perspective of other artists, for especially for newer artists coming in, because it's you know, as you know, it's oftentimes scary. Like you said, you had the producer who was kind of your friend when you were 15 and helped you understand a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, I would have never in a million years thought he would want to work with me back then. I was just an annoying kid talking to him about different metalcore bands. Like truly, that's all we talked about. And just like we kept in touch through the years. He saw me go to school for music. We would hang out when I was like living in a dorm room. I mean, we just kind of stayed in touch and it was never like weird. It was just like we'd see each other at shows, say hi. And then one day he just hit me up, was like, "Do you want to write a song?" And I was like, "I have a bunch of songs that are already written. Let's do this." So it's been a really cool new way to write that I appreciate. And it's like something for me to look forward to in this pandemic, is just getting in there and demoing these tracks and having something to show my mom so that she doesn't think I'm not writing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No kidding. No, that's awesome. That's fantastic. So, is your family supportive of that? You mentioned your mom.
Yes, absolutely. I'm one of the lucky ones, truly, because my parents were both entertainers. They both,
Oh,
my mom was a professional ballerina. My dad moved to California to act. They're both super creative, outgoing, entertaining individuals. But they always pushed me to be the best. Like my mom didn't let me just scream in her, like she did, but she only let me scream in her office learning the lyrics to songs for so long before she's like, "We're putting you in vocal lessons so you don't do permanent damage." Because I was just screaming at the top of my lungs. I was so emo. I can't. But she, I was classically trained. I was in choir and I worked hard to be in choir. I was in show choir. We had to do choreography. I know how to read music. I'm not the best because I don't play an instrument. That is my blind side. I wish I knew a little more, but they were always encouraging. They always wanted me to be the best I could be at what I was doing, because I was never going to be a scholar. That's for sure.
well, fair enough. You know, the world needs both kinds, the scholarly type and the artistic type.
Hey, I think this pandemic has shown us, like, even more so to people that aren't as creative and think that they're not, that we rely on music and shows and concerts and entertainment and things that are not just your everyday 9 to 5, like going out places. People think they don't need it, but it really shows that like music is a huge part of how we cope with the world. And I think the industry coming back is going to be insane. It's going to boom and it's going to be more competitive, but it's also going to be more welcoming. I've seen already changes in the scene since everything went under that are super great.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I think it does show, how much we miss what we don't have, and the arts right now have been lacking exposure because of that. So I think you're totally right. I like to ask all the artists this question. So what is something that you personally, with your music especially, have gone through that you hated going through at the time, but you're glad you did? So in hindsight, it was a good thing, but at the time you thought it was a bad thing or maybe the worst thing?
With the music, I think just member changes. Like I always pictured, I saw bands like Paramore that like started out when they were really young, and they've had their member changes most definitely, but like bands like You Me at 6 that have an all-time low that have had the same lineup since they were starting, and it's not always going to be that perfect, but it's taught me how to be a front person and how to lead a group. I don't love the attention, so being the person who's setting the scene for the group always felt like a lot of pressure. But through like whether it's messy member changes or just people growing apart, I've learned to communicate. It's made me a better communicator. But it stinks feeling like people don't get what you're trying to put out, and people don't understand how you want to be presenting yourself and how you want to be received by others. There's so much that goes into a band, I think, that and being an artist in general, that people do not understand or realize. They're just fans, and things I didn't get when I was younger. But that would be a huge thing, is just like learning how to be in a group and like make it worth everyone's while and make it feel like everyone's appreciated, and not just assuming people are going to do things because they're in the band, but also having that standard of like, we're all pulling our weight. It makes you realize like who's in it for just funsies and who's in it for the long haul, for the ride. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. That is something that's oftentimes a struggle when something like that happens. I feel like, a band member change or whatever, it can dishearten people. So that's fantastic that it hasn't disheartened you.
Oh, and it has. When this pandemic
Well,
started and we had member changes though, like I want to be honest, like I didn't know if we were going to
yeah.
make it. I thought maybe we were done. And, a lot of people, their first band that they're really in doesn't go anywhere. It's a trial and error situation. People will be in multiple lineup before they break into the industry really. And we've been super lucky that I think people have always kind of liked us and gotten us, which has been really nice. But absolutely it's disheartened me, but it's coming back from it, or realize how you can approach it in a different way that's going to make it so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. No, yeah, that I think that is a very important key. So thanks for bringing that up and sharing that with us. We appreciate your time today. Really, it's been great talking to you. We're
Oh
about
no,
out
you
of
guys
time.
are awesome. Thanks for having me. Truly, it's like I was telling someone the other day, it's just like, even though it's just talking and I don't get to, because I want to show you guys these songs, like I'm excited.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But there's a lot that's going to change, I think, and a lot that's going to be different when the scene and live music comes back and us releasing stuff comes back. And just doing interviews and like talking like I'm still in a band, it's cool. It feels like the industry isn't underwater and stopped for a second.
Well, it'll be back in no time. You'll be back, and we're excited to hear your EP or your album or whatever
it
next,
is.
your single, whatever. Yeah, whatever it is, it'll be great, I'm sure. And yeah, we're not in LA, but whenever we're in LA, or if you're up in Salt Lake where we are, we'd love to see you guys live sometime.
Oh yeah, please. I'd love to have you guys out to a show. I'd love to play a show in general.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a new vibe when we come back. I don't want to prepare people because I also want people to expect the unexpected, but I also want people to expect change and growth because we were 19, I was 18 when I wrote some of those songs. Like it's a different perspective, I think.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Those are always fun to have some of those ones that you wrote. It's kind of fun to compare too, huh? To how you thought at that time versus now. It's yeah.
Definitely. I was telling my coworker, I was like, it feels like I didn't write those songs. Like I know I wrote them and I remember sitting there writing them on my computer. I remember where I was, what I was feeling, but it feels like a different person because I was a whole different person just a couple of years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, thanks again for being here. We've loved having you, and like I said, hopefully we get to see you live soon. That'd be better.
Hopefully we can maybe talk again when everything starts to come out. I'd love to talk to you guys
absolutely.
when we know what's going on a little bit more. It's gonna be awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'd love to get an update when the world's back to normal and see what you're doing. So thanks again for your time. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, you guys have a great night. Bye.
Hey, thanks, you too.
Bye.
We'll see ya.